Well, hi, everybody. Glad to have you with us here. Protect yourself at all times, and we are on it with the Vegas Sportscast. With Bill O'Donnell, I'm Ron Futrell. Bill, what do you think? A little rush to start the show?
Oh, yeah, the best of the 80s.
That was a 70s. Look it up. That was a 70s song by them. Hold on. Now I got to find a free will. I got to Google this. We have our ongoing rift about which music era was the greatest.
I personally am a big fan of the 80s, and Ron thinks it's a generation of music that needs to go away.
It does for the most part. The crowd loves the 70s. But I'm going to Google that song. When was Free Will done? But we are a sportscast, so we're going to be doing a lot of sports. We have a bunch to talk about tonight. Let's see. We got obviously week 3 of the NFL coming up. Week 2 is just completed. We have the NHL. The Golden Knights have played 2 exhibition games, won them both. I've been to most of their practices, downtown Summerlin, the location.
Yep.
And a fight. Canello against Triple G that happened here in Las Vegas, and now the upcoming, the pending controversy from it. Oh, and I have to get an update, and we got to let the listeners know, an update on your and we're going to follow this. We're going to stay on this. The $100 from you buying the Mayweather-McGregor fight.
Still nothing.
Still no satisfaction.
Still no refund. Still nothing in my bank account. So no response whatsoever. Here's what I'll do as soon as this podcast is over. I'll send off another email to the UFC, and hopefully they answer me this time. So I have had no response back. Supposedly everybody that did not get the fight weeks ago. I mean, it's now been a month almost. I mean, it was August 26th, and we're coming up on September 20th. So we're looking at almost 1 month ago that millions of people were unable to watch that fight, and you said that UFC is obviously going to try refunding the money. Well, Dana, I'm waiting.
They said that. They said that at the time. So, and there's some baseball going on with the. We're getting close to playoff time. Okay, the Red Sox, how are they doing?
The Red Sox are in first place in the AL East. Yankees are vying for a wild card position. They did just beat Minnesota today. It was quite a win for the Yankees, just for them to try to secure that wild card. So it's It was 11-3 over Minnesota today. Yeah,
I watched part of that game in the Golden Knights locker room. They had it on the big screen.
Oh, really?
Locker room. So there's 20 hockey players. By the way, hockey locker rooms, all due respect, I love the sport of hockey, but they are the stinkiest.
Really?
Hockey locker rooms
smell
the worst.
It's all the gear.
It's all the gear, all the sweat, the wet, the ice, the cold, turn into the heat, yes, it's all of that. It's a very unique smell. There's not a hockey locker room that doesn't smell the same way. And that was the experience today and will be throughout. Oh, by the way, now that we have the NHL in Las Vegas, but that's the locker room. Okay, I have to talk about Boston Red Sox, and of course, yes, they're in first place. Dodgers will still have the best record in baseball, and you and I are East Coast, West Coast, hoping for a World Series, a Dodger-Red Sox World Series.
You know, there's 2 World Series I want to see. I want to see the Red Sox Dodgers, or I want to see Red Sox Cubs. I think a historic, just kind of. I mean, even though they have, obviously the Cubs are reigning champions right now. Being able to see that kind of historic, kind of battle, would be phenomenal. Obviously, 2 of Major League Baseball's oldest teams, with 2 of the oldest parks in America, between Wrigley Field and Fenway Park. I think that would be a phenomenal matchup. But the Dodgers too, obviously a storied franchise coming out of Brooklyn, moving to California, the Golden State, getting out of Brooklyn. But so I'd like to see that too. I mean, that'd be a great matchup.
We do this podcast live at different times during the week. It's a Wednesday evening that we're doing this one, so if you're listening live, you already know that, so I don't have to tell you that. But if you're not, most people will download it and listen to it that way. Bill, you're working on the website. You're doing a great job on that.
I am, and I promised our audience last week that the website would be done early this week. I'm a couple days behind. We are getting there. There's a lot of content we're looking to add, and we have some great writers and analysts that are going to be putting some stuff on this website between Ron and myself, and then a few other analysts that are going to be putting their opinions on different sports topics. So we're getting there. My apologies. But www.thevegassportscast.com.
Okay, that's where it is. That's where it will be, certainly by the time you listen to this, it'll be up. But also, you can download it let people know about this. Spread the word that the Vegas Sportscast is out there. And what we do is we talk mainly Vegas sports, but Vegas sports, when you're talking betting, it can hit a number of different things.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
and in fact, Richard Sherman just today said that the only reason they put out the actual injury reports is so that the bettors can actually get their lines right.
Oh, no, it's Thursday, and that's a requirement by the NFL that they do it then. And the lines, and they change on Thursday when that comes out.
Yeah, all except for Belichick's injury reports, who are the most vague ever.
He just doesn't tell the truth.
I mean, I think
he just makes up stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't make them up. It's just, it's. I mean, he had Brady on an injury report for a shoulder like the entire season.
And he played it. And
he didn't miss one game, and in fact, he won the Super Bowl that year. So
well, there's my point. That bad shoulder. Imagine what he would have done with a good,
Yeah, the Super Bowl wouldn't have been as close as it was.
Okay, still on baseball. I got to ask you. Red Sox got busted for using an Apple Watch by the commissioner of baseball to say that they were stealing signs from the Yankees. Was it the Yankees? Yeah, I think it was the Yankees.
So it was the Yankees.
How do you steal signs with it and use an Apple Watch? Do you know?
So it was the Yankees that reported the actual, alleged cheating.
Alleged.
And here's where kind of a lot of people only see things at face value of what it is. And we can get into a great discussion later on about some of the Patriots' alleged cheating scandals too, because a lot of people they watch ESPN and they take it at face value. So obviously, even the commissioner of baseball came out and said stealing signs is not illegal. You are allowed to steal signs. Just like here in Vegas, you can count cards. You can go down to the casino, you can play blackjack, and you can count cards. Using a mechanism to count cards is illegal. So, same thing with stealing signs in baseball. You can steal signs. They do it all the time. If there's a runner on second base and he takes a long lead to be able to see around the pitcher so he can see what signs the catcher's throwing, he can actually, once he gets back to the actual, dugout, he'll pass it along to the coaches, the personnel coaches and stuff, what he saw and what pitches were actually thrown, and then they start to figure it out. And later on in the game, and it's still incredibly difficult. They talk to a lot of professional sports, professional baseball players. It's not like you can just walk out and, you'll see the catcher throw a 1 and you're like, oh, it's a fastball. No, there's different tells that the catcher has for the pitcher where they'll have 3 or 4 different sets of signs, and the catcher will touch his mask first and then throw a 1. Well, that
as an indicator. The key is the indicator.
Exactly.
In baseball, I remember when playing American Legion high school baseball, you always had an indicator
as to whether it was going to be a real sign,
and that would change,
or a fake sign. It
would change the indicator of the sign after the indicator was the real one.
Exactly.
And the indicator is touch your nose.
It'll be
and that will change almost every inning. Sometimes.
The catcher will touch his mask and then throw down the sign, or he'll touch his chest plate and then he'll throw down the sign, or he'll tap his knee pad and throw down the sign. So there's different indicators to the pitcher as to what kind of set of pitches he's gonna need to throw. It's obviously a pitcher probably has about 4 to 6 different pitches in his arsenal that he can decently throw. Obviously, he can probably throw more, but kind of 3 main pitches and then a couple outliers that he'll throw. So, the guy on second base, some type of runner will try to pull signals, and normally he goes back to the dugout and he'll pass it along, and then they all try to figure out what the signs are, and it's still, without any type of technology, is an incredibly difficult feat to truly do that. And, that's why, they did use an Apple Watch. They were on second base, and they would actually, text back to the dugout.
So not sending pictures, not going snapping with the Apple Watch. Okay, can you take pictures with an Apple Watch?
I think the new generation Apple Watches you can. The first generation ones you couldn't.
So the guy on second base, he goes back to base. I can picture this, and he's sending text. Hold on a second here. I got to get this text done. That would be easily noticed.
Yeah. So I mean,
that would be easily like a camera would pick that up. Certainly. Yeah. But there's 100 cameras at a base. Not 100, but you get my point.
But for the guy on second base, the pitch gets thrown, and then the guy on second base looks at his watch and taps one button that sends a text to the individual in the dugout that's tracking this stuff. So
then the individual in the dugout can give a sign to the batter.
He could give a sign to the batter, or they can just start to. I mean, it's still going to take 6, 7, 8. Even if they ever figure it out, it's still going to take them a long time to figure it out. So we've obviously we've cracked the case of the Red Sox, right? But they're still hitting, decently. It's not like,
Right.
So, and a lot.
By the way, in first place.
Yeah, a lot of the players came out all across the league, and they were just like, really, it's not much of an advantage. You maybe save 30 seconds, by not having to go back to the dugout and report it. You know what I mean? So you don't save, you're just saving time. It's not like you get an edge in any way other than time savings, which is fine. I mean, awesome. It's still, obviously any type of competitive edge you can get in baseball is always going to be good. That's why, it even came down to players reading other players' lips. That's why when a catcher goes out to the mound, he covers his mouth with his glove. Same thing in football.
Have I told you where that comes from? There is a specific case.
Is there?
For that, yeah, there is a specific story. 1989, it was Giants-Cubs in the National League Championship Series. Remember, 89 was the Earthquake Series, World Series, between the Giants and the A's when the Bay Area Bridge collapsed and they were playing in Oakland, and the World Series got delayed because of them. They were getting ready for whatever game, third or fourth game. Anyway, but in the National League Championship Series there, Greg Maddux pitching to Will Clark. And Will Clark crushed a home run off. Now, Will Clark was the nemesis of Greg Maddux. That was I'll say probably the only hitter he had a real tough time with. He's in the Hall of Fame. So Greg Maddux, pretty good pitcher. So he was talking to the catcher about what they were going to throw him, and Will Clark read his lips, and after the game, he was talking to the media. He said, I knew exactly what he was throwing me. He was throwing me a fastball. I read his lips.
Wow.
He admitted that he just said that. That's what I did. I read his. And so after that, and that's the instance where Greg Maddux and baseball said, okay, take that glove, put it up. And you see it now in other sports. You see it in football with the clipboard.
Absolutely.
Clipboard is up.
They put it over there, when they're talking into the microphone, they put something up over their mouth, whether it's the play card or anything.
And I think that's more, they can't see across the field what they're saying, but there's so many cameras that you will watch the game afterwards and study game film and watch the broadcast, and it may catch them saying something on the broadcast that's an indication of what they do in situations.
Not just that, the individuals up in the boxes, they're using binoculars and stuff.
Good point. They got binoculars.
And they have direct lines down to the coaches on the sideline. I mean, the guys up in the booth are obviously the ones that make that judgment call as to whether a coach should throw the flag or not. I mean, they're quickly reviewing things and looking things up, and they let the coach know, hey, yeah, throw the flag on this one.
Sports people cheat like crazy.
I mean, it's
hold on. They're just cheating all the time.
In the world of cheating scandals, I would say the Apple Watch scandal is probably one of the lowest. I mean,
I thought Kobe was the only cheater in sports.
And
then, that was okay, sorry, that was Shaq said otherwise.
So, I mean, what about St. Louis Cardinals 2 years ago, right? You heard about their scandal.
I don't remember it. I probably heard it at the time, but
they were hacking into other teams' computers. Like, they actually had like a cyber warfare, like
they were Russia.
I mean, it was Russia. It was unbelievable, and they got in decent trouble. I think criminal penalties as well involved with that one. But I mean, that was they were actually hacking into other teams, personnel stats to try to figure out what's going on. So and what kind of moves that the team plans on making. I mean, that's a little bit more serious than the whole Apple Watch thing. I think. ESPN and a lot of other sports news things. I mean, they embellished it a lot and made it seem like it was some big deal. Oh, Red Sox caught, cheating scandal. And then
it was the Apple Watch thing, I think, that probably brought more of it. That was
Yeah. I mean,
that was the problem with it, and it was also the sex appeal of it.
You're right. And then, shortly after, I believe the New York Yankees also were nabbed or tagged with some type of scandal as well. So,
is it true that Roger Goodell then suspended Tom Brady for 4 games because the Red Sox cheated? Is it true that happened?
I did say Ron did tweet that out on the Vegas Sportscast Twitter. Once again, at Vegas Sportscast is our Twitter handle.
Twitter.